what's up? After 6 attempts at trying to dial in this recipe, today I'm finally ready to show you guys how to make what I think is perfect suburban mom style lasagna. It's cheesy, it's meaty, and unapologetically skips the bechamel sauce in favor of something fresher, more delicious, and homemade. Of course, I'm talking about fresh ricotta. To make it, I'll add a half gallon of whole milk, or roughly 2,000 grams, into a 4-quart saucepan. Then in goes 200 grams of heavy cream and then 15 grams of salt. Next, I'll move this over to the stove and then very gently warm it up over medium heat. This milk should take about 10 minutes in total to come up to a fresh cheese making temperature, and during that time I'm going to make sure to stir it frequently to prevent scorching. While that warms up, I'm going to set up my cheese draining contraption. For that, I've got a piece of cheesecloth from the grocery store that I've unfurled and then folded twice to make 4 layers. I'm dropping that into my salad spinner so that the basket can hold the curds and the bowl can catch the draining whey. After about 10 minutes at the stove here, I'll come back and give this milk a quick stir and check its temperature. I'm looking for 190F. That's hot enough to coagulate the proteins inside the milk when in the presence of acidity. Speaking of that, once my milk is at 190, I'll kill the heat and add in 100 grams of white distilled vinegar. Once the vinegar is in, I'll come back with a spatula or a whisk to very gently stir this to make sure everything's combined, and then I'll set a timer for 15 minutes to let this milk break completely. I'll mention that a lot of classic mom lasagna recipes use cottage cheese instead of ricotta. Now, after 15 minutes, the curds and whey are fully separated. See that yellow watery stuff in there? That's whey. The coagulated white stuff is casein protein, or curds. Next, I'm going to very gently pour those curds into my cheesecloth setup and then lift the draining curd out of the bowl and take it over to the sink to dump out the whey. I know that's really going to trigger a lot of people, but you guys, this is uncultured whey from a high temperature acid coagulated cheese, and it's just salty vinegar water at best, and in my opinion has no culinary utility. From here, I'm going to drain this curd for another 15 to 20 minutes or until it's looking firm, creamy, and luscious like this. For now, I'm going to set this aside and make the sauce. For that, I've got 1 pound or 450 grams of 80/20 ground beef and 2 large Italian sausages that are 4 ounces each or 115 grams. Next, I'll cut open the casing on the sausage and flip that out onto the sheet tray and then smush it with the ground beef into a flat sheet like this. For most of my meat sauces, as a lot of you guys know, I like to use my oven to do the browning to save on both time and mess. And once this is spread out, I'll throw it under my broiler and check back in 15 minutes. And if you don't have a super hot broiler, just roast this at your oven's highest setting. Now, let's make the tomato base for this sauce. For that, I'll add a 25 to 30 gram squeezer of olive oil into a heavy bottom 5 to 6 quart pot, then 25 to 30 grams of butter. And once that's melted, I'll add in 200 grams of onion, or 1 large one, medium diced, and then a strong pinch of salt. Next, I'll stir that to combine and cook these onions until they're softened and starting to get translucent. That'll take about 5 to 6 minutes or so. Next, in goes 20 grams or 4 to 5 cloves of minced garlic and then a strong pinch of chili flakes. And then I'll give it all a stir to get things combined and fry off the garlic. I'll give that a minute or so, and once the garlic and chilies are smelling fragrant, I'll add in 2 28-ounce cans of the best tasting crushed tomatoes you can find. Not sponsored, but I'm a big fan of Bianco di Napoli tomato product because it tastes good. Next, I'll add in 10 grams of salt and then give all that a stir. And once it's combined, I'll simmer it for about 5 more minutes while I check back on my broiling meat. At this point, it's taken on some really nice Maillard browning and it's cooked all the way through. Like I said, this oven method saves me from having to babysit a pot while I try to crumble down and brown off the meat. Next, I'm going to either chop up or break down this meat by hand. Either way, I just want it to be crumbled down into a very small particle size like this. I don't want any chewy, large meat nuggets taken away from my cheesy, soft lasagna. Next, all the meat's going to go into the tomato sauce, including any drippings and fat that might be sitting on the sheet tray, and then I'll stir that to combine and cook things down for 20 to 30 minutes. To make a well bonded, not soupy lasagna, we definitely need a very well thickened tomato sauce. Next, let's make the ricotta mixture for the final dish. For that, I'll combine all of my ricotta, that's just about a pound or maybe a few ounces more. And oh, for comparison, here's store-bought ricotta next to my homemade. It doesn't look that good. It's like set with guar gum, and I think that's why it looks like milk jello. If you can get nice ricotta at an Italian market or at your grocery store, go for that. Otherwise, make your own and avoid this weird stuff. Next, in goes 75 grams of grated Parmesan cheese, 100 grams of heavy cream, 5 grams of salt, 2 grams of cracked black pepper, 1 large egg, and then I'll grab my microplane and a knob of nutmeg and grate in about 1 teaspoon's worth. I love the warmth that this brings to fresh cheese, and it acts as a tribute to the more Italian bechamel-based lasagna that usually has a ton of nutmeg in it. And after a quick stir to get everything well combined, there we go, a fresh, luxurious cheese to bind all of our layers of lasagna. I love the flavor so much that I ate a giant spoonful of it, and then I realized
There's raw egg in this. Oh. Whoops.
Back on my stove, this meat sauce has reduced by more than half, and when I push my spoon through it, it easily holds its shape. Really push the reduction here, you guys. Any less than this and your lasagna will be on the sloppy side. To finish this sauce, of course, I need to taste it for seasoning. The 10 grams that I added earlier is close, but to make the final dish properly seasoned, we need a very intense sauce that's on the upper edge of seasoning. So in goes a strong pinch, and then I'm not ashamed to say that I'm gonna add in a little bit of sugar to bring this whole thing into balance. About 5 to 7 grams worth, if I had to guess. One more taste, and wow, super robust, meaty, and intense. Now, let's build this lasagna. For that, I'll grab a deep 9x13 baking dish and then quickly thank Athletic Greens for sponsoring this video. Over the last 3 years or so, I've made a strong effort to be more healthy. And what that means to me is moving my body as much as possible and eating a more whole foods based diet. But you know, lasagna happens, and cheesecake and cheeseburgers, and I'm a bad boy sometimes, you guys. That's why I use Athletic Greens AG1 as part of my daily routine. It's a mixture of 9 high quality health products in one that helps to support my energy, focus, gut health, digestion, immune system, and mental clarity, all with this one scoop mixed into water daily. And AG1 comes in travel packs that are especially helpful for, you know, when you're traveling, and you can pack 1 packet per day as opposed to a handful of all the other supplements that you normally take. And Lauren and I used to take a lot of supplements. This is not an exaggeration. Click my link in the description below and you'll get 5 of these travel packs for free, plus a 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D3, K2 with your first purchase. For me, AG1 really is the quickest, easiest, and tastiest way to fill any nutritional gaps in my diet. Now into this 9x13 dish, I'm gonna add a half cup of my meat sauce and then spread that out to keep the base layer of noodles from sticking to the pan. Next, in goes 4 pieces of no boil lasagna noodles, overlapped slightly. After trying both boil and non-boil noodles for this dish, I came to the conclusion that no boils are superior in terms of final texture and time spent preparing. Out of 6 lasagnas, the 2 best by far were the ones that I made with no boil noodles. But if you can't get these, it turns out that regular boil noodles will also work just fine, and you don't actually need to boil them. I just soaked these regular lasagna noodles in water for 5 minutes before building the lasagna, and guess what? They got fully cooked. In fact, they kind of got overcooked compared to the no boil noodles, which seems weird. On top of the noodles, I'll add 9 tablespoon sized dollops of the ricotta mixture and then spread that evenly from edge to edge. Then I'll drop a cup's worth of grated full fat mozzarella cheese. In total, I've got a pound of cheese here, or about 4 cups worth, and this is the same deli block cheese that I use for most of my pizzas. Pre-shredded cheese would work totally fine here if you don't want to grate it. Then on top of that cheese goes about 3/4 of a cup of meat sauce, and then I'll spread that from edge to edge. 4 more noodles go down, and from there I'm gonna go pretty rapid fire here because this process more or less repeats itself. So on top of the second layer of noodles, I'll drop 9 more dollops of ricotta, then a cup of mozzarella, a cup of reduced meat sauce, 4 more noodles, ricotta, mozzarella, sauce, noodles. Then to finish, it's 1 cup of sauce, then the last cup of mozzarella cheese spread from edge to edge, then a few strong grips of grated Parmesan cheese, about a half cup's worth. Then to gild the lily, I'm gonna add on 6 to 9 slices of fresh mozzarella cheese. This is gonna bring some milky, round meltiness to the top of this thing that I really love. Next, an oil piece of foil is gonna go on top to stop the cheese from sticking when it melts, and then the whole thing goes into a 375F oven to bake for 25 minutes. 25 minutes later, I'll snatch this lasagna out the oven, remove the foil, and then throw it back into bake uncovered for 25 more minutes. Cut to that gooey, melty time-lapse bry. And after 25 more minutes, I'm gonna broil this on top for 2 to 3 minutes to make sure that I've got a good layer of browning going on, and then I'll pull it out. Check this thing out. It's melty looking and looks pretty clean overall. Of course, it would be suicide to cut into this thing right now. It's way too molten. So I'm gonna let it cool for 30 minutes. 30 minutes later, take a freaking look at this thing, you guys. It's got clearly defined layers. It's got cheese melt. It's perfectly set. And after a lot of attempts, I'm super happy with this result. Now to finish, I'm gonna slap another spoonful of my super flavorful reduced sauce right on top. And by the way, this recipe makes about 2 more cups of sauce than you need so that you can add it on top afterwards. I'd rather have a well-set lasagna with lots of sauce on top than a sloppy one with too much inside. Anyways, for me, this is the perfect lasagna. The ricotta has a beautiful, luscious texture and a light flavor. That hint of fennel seed from the Italian sausage is just a pure delight, and the pasta is firm but tender, which is surprisingly hard to get right. I really hope you guys make this one soon. Let me know in the comments what you think. Let's eat this thing.